Hello everyone, Sarah here. Thank you so much for joining me. This is the last video I have for Love From Lizi's, and this is the Rise and Shine card kit that was released in the month of February. Today is actually the day I believe a new kit will be coming out from Love From Lizi's, but I wanted to show the last cards that I created using this card kit. And so this is going to be one of those process ones where you get to see my thought process. And so I've gone through all the content and I'm going through the pattern paper right now to see which ones I like. If I'm drawn to it immediately, I put it to the top. If I'm not drawn to it immediately, I put it down to the bottom. And then now I have my potential card bases or the matte layers. So I'll trim these all down to be A2 size, which is 5.5 by 4.25, or vice versa, 4.25 by 5.5. And now I have all my starting points of cards. So I have 5 laid here. It doesn't mean I'm going to be using all of these, but this is how the process goes for me when I'm working with a kit like this. This kit also includes a bunch of cutaways, and so I'm going to go through each one of them and cut away all the ones that once again draw my attention and things that I might use. So I'm looking for sentiments, I'm looking for anything that I can cut away, I'm looking at color, design. I'm staying away from anything that's usually lines, like for notes, anything that looks kind of for scrapbooking, like anything that's quite large, and then just focusing on the smaller pieces. But anything goes. I'll just, whatever catches my eye, I'll cut it out. And now everything is ready for me. It's all around me. And all I need to do is just play. So the first thing I'm going to do is just grab my pattern papers that I initially love. And I always start with the one I love the most. And so that's that dark blue with the very vibrant flowers. And I'm playing around with these cutaways that kind of look like seeds. Some of them are sentiments, but some of them look like seed packets almost, or like the image you would find on seed packages. And I picked the blueberry one. I think that one looks kind of nice. And I pulled out some yellow cardstock from the kit and I've cut it to the size of that cutaway, and I've matted it to see what it looks like. I'm just trimming it down now to make sure that it is the right size, and that looks like it's about 4.25 by 3.25. That's the matte layer. And then we'll just see how that looks. And I like that blueberry on that yellow. It looks really cute. And that yellow does tie in with some of the flowers in that background. So for now, I say that's a good start. So let's put that aside. Next, I've grabbed a piece of pink cardstock measuring 4.25 by 5.5 from the card kit. And then I'm going to pick this really beautiful like meadow full of tulips and pink flowers and butterflies. And I'm going to see how this looks with some of these scrapped pieces. Not really feeling it. So I got another idea, and that is to grab these scraps that I was looking at. And I'm just going to lay them down and see what they look like if I lay all these down. These scraps are the leftovers of when I cut my card base or my pattern paper down. I never judge the process. I just let myself go. And a lot of times I get pulled in different directions and I get surprised. So this is really, really pretty. I love the combination of these 4 together. And I don't think I need anything more to really make it stand out. So I've trimmed those down so that I have a nice border around. So I believe those would be cut down to be 4 by 5.25. And then like in total, but each strip is probably 1.25 inches wide. 1 inch to 1.25 inches. Let's see. Yeah, it's about 1.25 inches. And I'm just going to glue these strips down. I'm pretty confident that I like how this looks. If I wasn't, I wouldn't glue anything down until I was ready. But, oh, that purple's nice too. But I'm just going to glue these down, kind of following the glass mat because it's going to help me guide the pieces. If I really wanted it to be perfect, I would have measured everything so that all the pieces would be equal. but I wasn't really doing that. I was kind of eyeballing it. So the last one I put down, I realized that it makes the third column pattern paper a little bit skinnier than the rest, but you know, that totally fine by me. So this is really nice. I really like how this turned out. And this is just the background. So we'll see how we move forward with this. So we'll look through our embellishments. I pulled this one. I really like that, but I don't like the lines. I don't know really what to do with that. So we'll put that aside, and the butterfly is really pretty. In fact, I think I'll fussy cut that one out. There's nothing. It's a very easy one to cut out because there's no letters, and the yellow actually is not bad on this pattern paper, so it will get hidden quite nicely. So we'll do that, and never regret anything. So if you cut it and realize you don't like it, that's fine. Just never regret. Just keep moving forward. But look at that. I found that sentiment. You make me happy, and I think that's perfect. So for now, let's put that aside. We'll call that a win. And let's move on to another card and see where we go. Then the next thing we have is, I think I pull out some of this mesh fabric. I really didn't know what to do with it. And so I decided I would just cut a piece of cardstock. This is from the card kit. It's a piece of white, vibrant white cardstock. And I'm trimming that down to be 4 inches by 5 1/4. And I'm going to wrap this material around. I have no clue how this is going to turn out as I'm doing this. As I'm recording, I have no clue. So I'm bringing out the big guns. I have this. This kit did come with a bunch of double-sided tape and glue dots and everything, but for this, I had to go with my own stash and bring out the big guns. This is a huge roll of double-sided tape because I want to make sure that when I glue that fabric down, it's not moving, because there's a lot of stray fabrics. And so you need to make sure everything is adhered, because you don't want it to unravel on your card. So there we go. So we'll just place this down. I'm going to give myself lots of room, and it's not the easiest to wrap around because it's pre-folded to fit in the box, and so it kept rolling on me. So I'm trying my best, and of course this fabric does love to wiggle because it's not a very tight woven material. So it's a little challenging, but you just take your time, just smile through it. It's all fun, but I'm trying my best not to bow my cardstock, as well as making sure that the fabric is tight. So that was the challenge on this. So we'll just kind of roll this around. We'll find it. I eventually do find the right position that I can get a nice tight surrounding without bowing the cardstock. And then once I do, I'll just tape that down. The fabric will be a little bit loose. It's not going to be tight, but that's fine. We'll do the best that we can. And then we cut off the excess. And now the next thing to do is start preparing to glue it on the other side, like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a little cheat way. I'm just going to snip the sides and then cut off the excess on one side. That's a nice, easy way. I'm sure there's other ways, but once again, this fabric is not, you got to be careful that the threads don't get going astray and unraveling. So I'm just going to do a very quick one, snip the bottom, and once again, just snip off all the excess on one side only, and then I'll put some double-sided tape down on the top and bottom, once again bringing out the big guns, that big roll, and we'll place that right there. And then of course on the bottom, and we'll fold the fabric over. It's interesting. This fabric actually has like a little bit of tinsel in it. It's like a pearlescent, iridescent tinsel. It's very interesting, and I was determined to don't cut the threads. I just noticed I did that. Don't do that. Make sure you just press them into that double-sided tape. But I was determined to use this fabric because it just looked interesting. And sometimes when I get these kits from Love From Lizi's, I don't use the fancy stuff because I don't know. I'm worried. I'm always afraid that I'm going to make a mistake and then I waste it. But not using it is also a waste. So to each their own. So I really shouldn't be trimming these. I should be folding them around, but maybe I feel confident that's not going to unravel. But there is a lot of double-sided tape on the back, so you could just press those right in and they should be fine. So there we go. And now I'm going to find a card base that I'll use. I tried the craft cardstock, and then I decide, you know what, this card kit has a bunch of cardstock. I should use that. And so this is the yellow. It's a very beautiful yellow, almost like a creamy egg yolk yellow. And we'll use that as our card base and place our big panel, fabric panel in the middle there. And that will be our matte layer. There we go. And I'm not sure if I'll glue it down yet. Am I going to glue it down yet? Or am I going to hold aside? I can't remember because this is new to me. So to be committed at this point is pretty daring for my personality, I think. But I'm just playing around and, oh, that looks nice. Yeah, I forgot. Okay, yeah, that looks nice. So we'll put that aside now and we'll fix that later. But that's daffodils, perfect choice for that card. Now, this is, I believe, the second last one we're going to be playing with. And I have a piece of that beautiful blue cardstock from the card kit. And I'm going to use that as a mat. And then these umbrellas, I'm going to cut this paper down. I'm going to cut it down to 3 3/4 by 5 inches, but then I'm going to make it even shorter because I want to have a nice blue cut on the bottom. There's no reason for it. I was just inspired to do something different than what I kept doing. And so with the leftovers that I just cut off, I just decided to use that as an accent to the pattern paper. It's just nice when the back matches the other side so nicely. I do have this sentiment, Dance in the Rain. I'm going to use that as my image on this card, but I want to make it something more than a rectangle. So I am going to cut it with an arch die. Love From Lizi's has a wonderful stitched nested die, and I can put that in the description box below. And we'll just use that just to create something a little different, kind of mimicking an umbrella shape. And then we'll put that aside. Now it is on to card number 1. Now that I have all my preparation done, now it's pretty much at this point just gluing everything down. However, for card number 1 is a little different because technically this is the last set up to the card, which ends up being the first card that I finish. And I'm pulling out those tags that I created in my previous video. These are 2 that looked really nice together. One was like a watercolor blend and the other one is using the cutaways in a messy inky background. And I'm pulling out some of the magenta ribbon from this card kit and I'm going to tie them together doing a very loose knot. You just fold the ribbon in half, you stick it through the holes and then you thread it through the loop. And then that way it's not a knot that's going to get undone, but it's also not permanently knotted together. It's just a very nice little touch. Of course, this ribbon is quite stiff. I did try curling it a bit, but it's looking like that. And maybe it's just because they're a little too short, but I don't mind it. It's not too bad. Normally I let it have a huge dangling ribbon, but I decided to have it nice and short. For the pattern paper, I did cut it down earlier to that 4 inches by 5 1/4, and then I'm going to glue it to a piece of yellow cardstock from the card kit as the matte layer. If I had enough of that yellow left over, I could have made a card base, but this is just as good because you can glue it to a white card base. I have taken some of these glue dots. These are really nice glue dots that were in the kit, and I'm going to add them to the tag. I'm going to add 2 of them in the back so that it has a really good adhesion. It's not going to come off. And then I'll put one in between the 2 tags so that they will stay in position. I did realize that these glue dots are 2 per square. It's kind of folded and I didn't realize it. So when I was ripping them off, I realized that I forgot I was ripping too many. So if you have this, just keep that in mind that it is a folded sheet. And so if you rip 1 square, you're going to get 2. Now let's get our white card base down and we'll glue our first card down to its base and call it done. Very simple. You could totally add some bling. There's lots of bling in the card kits, but I'm going for some more subtle cards. Okay, now to card number 2. We have our card base. It's a nice white one, and we're going to glue the panel down. This is the one we created earlier with the 4 strips of paper that were the leftovers of our cutting. And then I'll prop up this sentiment with some scrap cardstock. This is 3 pieces of scrap cardstock glued together. And then I'll do the same thing for the butterfly. I'll add a small little piece on the wing, and then I'll actually add 1 single layer on the other side. I did notice it was a little bit higher than the other side, so potentially my scraps were not equal in card weight, but that's fine. So there you go. There's the 2 pieces, and we'll glue that down. And the reason for that is just to make sure that that butterfly is nice and flush. And there we go. Once again, very simple. You can add bling if you want, but we're keeping it simple. Card number 3, let's glue this one down. We have that top umbrella piece, and then we will take our scrap, which is the reverse side of the umbrella, and decide if we want to have it at the top and leave a blue bottom, or if we're going to have it covering the whole so we'll have a nice equal border. And I think having the nice equal border is nice. I was thinking when I did that, maybe I would do a heat embossed sentiment, but when I got this Dance in the Rain cutaway, I realized that no, let's cover it. Let's have a nice dark blue border, and then it looks quite nice. And of course, to finish this, I'll add some Love From Lizi's peel-offs. This is the one that comes in the card kit. That always helps with the transition from 2 pieces of pattern paper, especially if they are not completely matching. And there we go. Beautiful. Now this is the one I was getting a little worried about. This is card number 4, and I just really didn't know how this is going to work. I like it, but it was definitely challenging for because I'm not used to using this material. So I'm going to take that yellow ribbon that comes from the kit, and I'm just going to wrap a single piece. If it was thicker, I think it would look really nice, but I didn't really want to do 2 singles just because you can see that seam. So we'll just leave 1 single one. I'm going to add a little bit of double-sided tape. This is from the card kit. This is the one that is actually in the card kit. And we'll use that just to really make sure that that ribbon doesn't come off. And then we will really seal the deal with more of that big roll of double-sided tape to glue this down to the card base, because I do not want this thing to pop off at all, because that will just defeat the purpose of actually putting it on the card. And there we go. There's a little stray, so I'm just going to tuck that underneath to make sure that it stays, which is why I said don't cut them, because I think that starts to happen more if you trim. Things start unraveling. Now this fancy piece of cardstock also comes from the card kit, and I decided just to cut a little piece as a matte layer for the sentiment there, daffodils, spring flower bulbs. And I'm actually not going to glue that down to that fabric. I'm just going to glue the image down on top. So what's going to happen is it's going to make sure that it is around that ribbon, and it's going to be really wobbly, but I thought that was kind of neat, just having a little bit of fun movement to it. Off camera, I tied a bow, a little bow from the yellow ribbon. Very time consuming because I'm just not that great at it, which is why I cut it out of the video. And I'm just going to glue that right in the corner there, just to tie in more of that yellow ribbon. I think that looks so sweet. And of course, adding the bling definitely would probably enhance that card some more. For the last card, number 5, I'm going to work with this blue, beautiful pattern paper. This is the pattern paper that I loved the most, and I didn't even do it first, which is kind of funny. But I decided for this, I didn't want to cover that pattern paper. I just love it too much. So I fussy cut out that glass jar with the flowers and a ladybug. And I also took a piece of sentiment and some pattern paper from all the cutaways. And so there we go. So there's the cutaway. And then there's the jar. And I'm going to just kind of create like a layer or a grounding layer on this so that these elements can rest on it. My sentiment is just a strip from the one that came from this glass jar. So that's where the springtime came from. And we'll just put that to the side near the bottom so that the glass jar of flowers can rest on the other side of it, kind of grounding it as well. And then we'll cover a little bit of the right with the ladybug. And this is one of my favorites. I just love how simple and beautiful it is. It is busy, but it's just so lovely. So here we go. Here are the 5 cards that I created. Feels like I'm going in slow motion, but it's not. I must have been moving really slow. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed these cards. I had a lot of fun working with this card kit. Remember that Love From Lizi's does have another card kit coming very soon. So if anyone is interested, I will have the information in the description box below. And until the next time, have a fantastic day, and I'll talk to you all later. Bye.